It is late at night and we are off the grid. You ever have one of those days where you have to do something twice? You ever have one of those days where you have to do something twice? Today was that. I just recorded this video and I realized I had to sneeze at one point and I hit the mute button and then I never unmuted myself. And so I'm going to record it again and I'm going to try to do at least half as good of a job. The last one, in case you missed it, was just amazing. And in case you didn't hear it because it was muted, probably the best thing I've ever said. But here we are. I'm going to give it another go. Give it the old college try. And we're going to start with the power check. And how much power did we use today? Not as much as the government. Fortunately, not as much as the government. And we didn't use too much power, but we were on par with previous days. This is what the day looked like. This was a snapshot from this morning. And unlike the previous two mornings, we actually got some sunshine today, which was really nice. We needed to charge up the batteries a little bit, put a little juice in the tank, and we were able to do that. We were pretty low, though. We were low on power this morning. We were low on power yesterday. It's December. December's like low on power month, December and January. The sun just starts to come up later, starts to produce power at less intensity for less amount of time. It has an arc lower in the sky, so it's not hitting the panels as cleanly. And we're just not getting as much production. And then you combine that with the fact that we'll lose the cold weather. We'll lose efficiency with the lithium-ion batteries in the cold weather, just like we do with our vehicle, our electric vehicle. We do the same thing with the batteries in our house. So that's the live look-in. And for a more even kind of poignant live look-in, this is kind of outside this morning and just kind of looking at the fields. You can see here where the cows are, the electric fence. So the electric fence is on right now, even though we're powering our house with our vehicle, with the car. That's the one thing that we want to make sure that we keep on just because it makes life easier for everybody. But that's sort of how the day is shaking out. But power-wise, how is it looking? So this morning, 7:48 this morning, it was looking like 8%. We were at 8% power, which was a step up actually from yesterday. We were at 6%. Now, if you could remember, and you probably can't, and most times I don't even remember, but we can't let it get to 5%. If we drop below 5%, our entire gateway shuts down, our power wall shut down, our inverters shut down. So the whole system needs to be jump-started and recharged and restarted. And it's not the most convenient and easiest thing to do. So we like to not let our batteries get below 5%. 6% really is our cutoff. And so here we're at 8. Yesterday we were at 6. And we're producing power, as you could see, 7:48 in the morning. We're making 0.3 kilowatts. We're using 1.1. My wife had some work. She had a client coming over early, so she had to get the studio heated up. And this is where it comes into a little bit of a challenge, is how do we supplement that power and make sure we're meeting all the needs that the house needs, that the family needs. And so this morning started making 0.3. We're using 1.1, but we had the understanding that come about 9:30, we'll have that break even and a push point where we're going to be at a kilowatt plus. And so, I just sped through this, but this was just early today. So this was already, 7:48 in the morning. What did we use? What do we use first thing in the morning? We use about 2 kilowatts. It's not much. A lot of that's because we had switched overnight, as we do to many nights in December. 90% of December at night, we'll switch to the car just because it's easier. It saves us power. It gives us opportunities. We could draw much more. We have many different options when we're functioning with the power wall, just because we could draw from that in a much larger capacity than we can with the car. We've got a cap on drawing from our car at 2 kilowatts. And really, the car could put out over 5, but it's just the way wiring works in the U.S. and the U.S. standards. We're limited to just under 2 kilowatts, 1.8, 1.9. But with the power walls, we could draw 15. We've got a real, solid push there where we can turn on a lot of the high-performing appliances and not have to worry about anything flipping the breakers or shutting down the system. And so 2.1 kilowatts at 7. So that's what even if you had like an EcoFlow battery and overnight you had the ability to switch yourself off grid or in a power outage, you could manage overnight with using low storage. So yesterday we used 15.8. That was just not a lot of power, I think, for the winter, for keeping the house warm. And you could see the beginning of this sort of power usage looks like a little bit of a house house heartbeat, you can see the beginning and the end of the day is pretty flat. There's a few little mini spikes, and those mini spikes will be things turning on, like the gateway, the electric fence, just a little bit of 0.1, really, maybe 0.2, but say 0.1 kilowatts is what it sort of peaks at when we switch over, because when we're still on the car power, there's a little bit of power that's needed for the house just to maintain the system vitality. And so that's what you're seeing from yesterday. 15.8 is low, though. Typically, we'll be in the 20 range, 22. The day before on Monday, we were 20.4 kilowatts. That's what we used. So again, we're in the winter, so it's pretty good. 25.6, I think, is pretty typical. And again, this is not heating our house in any traditional means other than just using the fireplace. Not in any mechanical means, I should say. We're not using our heat pump, really. A little bit here and there, but not in this weather. We try to conserve, especially since it's been gray the last few days. It's just in our best interest to conserve, preserve, and maintain as much of the Powerwall power as we can. And so that was from this morning, a little live jump in from this morning of when we started to produce power and how we got pretty low at 8%. But we felt confident based on the weather and we have a little live look in on the weather too, based on the weather that we were going to be able to produce the power. And this was tonight. This was at 1 in the morning. 32 degrees outside. I think we have a feels like temperature of 24 or something like that, but no precipitation. Yep, there's the feels like a 24. No precipitation. We've got some sun coming tomorrow, as you can see, some intermittent sun, but some sun. And that should be coming in a few hours, hopefully. I'll check in, at the end of the day and let you know how that goes. But how that changes the power from tonight. So if we look at tonight at 1 in the morning, here's how our power looked. And you could see we're not drawing anything. There's no sun. Obviously, it's dark out, so we wouldn't be making any solar. We're not using anything according to the app. And the reason we're not using anything is because we've switched over from our Tesla system to our Hyundai Ioniq 5 to power the house. And we just do that routinely throughout the winter, throughout December and January and February. It just gives us a lot extra peace of mind. And you can see again the power that we've used the last few days, and it gives us options on how to manage our power. We didn't have that the first year going into this 5 years ago. We're about almost 5 years into living in this house, and so the types of power sources, the types of expanding our solar footprint, we didn't really have types of the options that we have now. So I feel very fortunate that we've got an EcoFlow battery that gives us 4 kilowatts of backup, which is like a little bite of power. Then we've got the house at 40 kilowatts, which gives us the sustenance of how we kind of live day to day. And then we've got the car. So we go from 4, our little battery, 40 to our house power, and then 80 to our Hyundai Ioniq 5, which gives us that extra boost of power, which allows us to really stay powered by the combination of the car and the Powerwall for days, weeks. I mean, in perpetuity. That's how we live off grid, is we switch between having the power walls, and in the summertime that powers everything, no problem. And in the wintertime, we switch to the car. And we use our fireplace, as you can see here. Huckleberry loves the fireplace. Our fireplace does the heating for our house in the wintertime, does all the heavy loads. That heats 2,400 square feet, believe it or not, and definitely keeps the big guy warm. And so that was the power check today. And feel very fortunate that we're going to be rolling into another day with some sunshine, a couple more days of some sunshine. You could see in the weather report here. Friday, got some sun. Thursday, it does say cloudy, becoming windy. And that was today, but we did make some power. But we're coming into sun tomorrow and the sun the next few days. So these are the things you got to keep track of when you're living off grid, is just to make sure you keep an eye on the forecast, the next few days, the next few hours. The radar, it's all helpful information. So what was food for thought today? Food for thought today was a high school that's actually near me that is it's going to be completely solar powered. It's scheduled to open in 2026. This is the article that caught my eye. Do I have I don't even know if I have this was the article.
Watertown.
It's in Watertown, Massachusetts, which is great because we're talking about being off grid. There's the sort of overhead look at it with the solar panels on the roof. Being off grid in New England, it's not easy. They have flat roofs. I have a lot of questions. This article that I'm about to talk about, and there's the news piece that they did. It was really interesting. I watched a snippet of it, so I want to watch the whole thing here. And it's just short. It's just a couple of minutes, but it's light on information, and that's one of my big challenges with finding out information on some of these projects. Is you either got to dig deep, or they don't release a lot of stuff, and so you have to make a lot of projections. And so here we'll make a few projections, and we'll kind of try to get a basis and an understanding. But this is a really high efficient school that produces all of the power that it needs to run through solar and geothermal and smart design and lighting and circulation. And I'm really curious to see how it comes together. I would love to go take a look at this school once it's built. I would maybe swing by there and make an appointment to see how the system all comes together and how it's integrated and how it functions. Because it's one thing, even designing this house, it was one thing to design this house in a vacuum, so to speak, on the computer and using just formulas and spreadsheets and understandings of how much different power usages we're going to face, and it's another to live it. It's just how it goes. And so let's check out a solar power high school here.
In Watertown, a new high school under construction is expected to be the first of its kind in the nation.
It is designed with green energy in mind. WBZ Jacob Wyckoff takes us inside this high-tech high.
And again, not to digress, I'm going to let this play out in a minute, but this is what gets a little frustrating for me is when people are like, well, it's designed with green energy in mind. I mean, that's like saying I cook with heat. And it's just so generic and lacking of any detail or actual information that it gets a little frustrating sometimes. But I think there's going to be more information in here.
High school in today's Climate Watch.
In the heart of Watertown, a new high school is being built for the future.
It's the first high school in the country and probably the first public building in the country that's going
Looks
to
like
be
a tight building lot.
LEED platinum, completely self-sustaining, all electric.
When it opened,
So LEED is leadership in energy and environmental design. It's a United States Green Building Council program that I actually went to school for architecture. That's why I love architecture and sustainability and love consulting and sustainability. And LEED was really one of the first ways to promote the coming together, the weaving together of building standards and construction materials and methodologies and sustainable practices to provide the highest quality, what I thought was the highest quality and standard of architecture and living, because architecture is essentially just creating spaces that we can function in. That's the whole point, by and large. I mean, especially in a school.
this spring, the new Watertown High will produce as much energy as it uses, powered by geothermal wells under the campus in a field of solar panels on the roof.
So is it powered by geothermal wells? Is it heated and cooled by geothermal wells? I do have some questions. Is it heat pump? Are those the heat pumps? Is that the heating system? The solar panels looks like, I mean, that's a massive amount of solar panels. That looks like it could produce a very significant amount of power, particularly in the summer.
Dr. Dee Dee Galdston is Watertown superintendent.
Watertown
Dr. Dee Dee.
as a community is very.
Hey, look, Dr. Dee Dee has a heat pump in her house. So she's walking the walk or talking the talk or schooling the school.
Committed to, climate resiliency and making sure that we're doing whatever we can.
The 4-story design packs an entire campus onto just 4 acres.
That's tight. 4 acres is a small lot. This is 4 acres. The front field here, let me show you, not where the chickens and the cows are, but everything to the right of, did I show it here? Everything to the right of the solar shed. That's 4 acres for us. Everything to the right of that solar shed. So this is a tight site.
Carefully thought out. One feature you notice immediately is the light. A bright central atrium, windows wrapping around every level, and sun.
Lighting is super important. Lighting, circulation, air, like those sorts of things. This is so important. There's so much natural light in our house. And now that it gets to be December, January, the winter time, it's dark. Sun doesn't come up till later. Sun sets earlier. It's light. Honestly, it's light from like 8:30 or 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock at this point. So, and I know that's nothing to complain about. We're not living in, Antarctica here where there's no daylight certain stretches of the year or something like that. But it's just, it weighs on you. It gets a little, depressing to a certain degree. So to allow light to get in, and the kids when they're in school, mind you, like we got kids in school. They're in school when they go to school when it's dark, and it's 7 o'clock and in the morning, and they get out of school, when they have extracurriculars when it's dark at 4 o'clock. They don't see daylight out if they're in school. And so to have a lot of glazing, a lot of light, to have that be a priority in the design for this high school, I think is a tribute to the people designing it and to their understanding of what's needed for learning and just for general quality of life and health.
That reaches even the lowest floors. One of the brightest rooms
It
is
looks
the
cool.
gorgeous gym.
And what's unusual too is that don't really see gyms with all this glazing on
Yeah,
it. So
that's
I think
nice.
it's an amazing
That is
moment
very
daylight.
nice.
Even on dark, rainy days, the building feels bright.
Yeah, that was a dark gray day.
Maximize natural
It does.
light to
Feels
cut
nice.
energy use and to make the
They got a climbing wall? Are you kidding
space
me?
feel open
They
and
do
welcoming.
they charge a
When you
membership
walk
for this
in there, you don't feel like you're walking into a high school from
thing? Not at
the
all.
20th century.
It's like a mall.
When you walk in there, you really feel like the whole building is something on the edge of the future.
Hands-on labs for carpentry, robotics, and engineering, along with just regular classrooms, are connected to that sun-filled
Super STEM based. Looks super STEM based, but it looks like it incorporates and integrates all the facets of education, from sports to learning, teaching, congregating, sharing.
atrium.
Be looking down into the wood shop. You can be looking across the windows that you'll see for the fitness center.
It's exciting.
Music rooms.
This
which
is
a
an
double
exciting
height space.
project.
There's also a black box theater that can transform into a full auditorium. Plus, that double-height gym and walking track is for both
I don't know what a black box theater is, but that sounds fancy.
students and the Watertown community. Spots purposely built with green energy in mind.
The geothermal will help to keep the energy costs down. You needed to do that because
Yes, that's keeping the energy cost down. I don't think the geothermal is providing any power per se.
these spaces are going to be used pretty much 7 days a week. This is where we needed to do.
Is it now? So this is it. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Is it used in the summer? Is it going to be used in the summer in the same way it's used in the winter? Is the power consumption going to be the same? These are a lot of the questions that I start to have. And granted, they might not have the answers yet. They don't have 4 years of data like we have here.
A very
The
robust
off-grid farm.
geothermal program to keep these spaces warm and cool.
This project has been nearly a decade in the making, and once students move in, the
I
building
believe it.
itself becomes part of the lesson, a living example of climate-smart design.
They're learning climate resiliency
Yes.
in a climate resilient building.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And I think just even the pieces of this learning experience that they're not so that aren't so obvious, that aren't so overt. It's just like it's going to affect kids learning, young adults learning in such a positive way, and that mindset hopefully just keeps carrying forward in ways that affect other projects that they work on as they move forward in their personal and professional lives, just naturally understanding how things like access to sunlight, fresh air, and solar power are paramount to living a high quality life.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A building designed to spark ideas and light the way forward. In Watertown, Jacob Wyckoff, WBZ News.
Thanks, Jacob Wyckoff.
Well, I think you look at that and you just say, wow.
Yeah.
And you also say, well, can I go
wow.
back?
I do agree.
I just want to walk through real quick.
I can tell you my high school did not look like that.
Mine either, and I loved it.
We still have much
Yeah.
more ahead.
My high school definitely did not look like that. That's exciting. I think there's so much to unpack here, and they're so light on details. And I tried to look it up. I looked for a few the basic amount details that I was able to distill from this was that the building size is about 200,000 square feet. So 200,000 square feet, I would consider that like twice the size of the White House addition that they're trying to put on. So they're trying to build twice that size, and it's a $200 million price tag. And it's gone up from about 180 million, I think, when it started, maybe somewhere around in that. I hadn't really been following the economics of it as much. But it's a 10-year project, so you kind of expect that there's going to be, pricing and labor and cost increases, within the span of a decade for sure. But we're talking about 200,000 square feet is a significant size, and $200 million feels like it's a lot of money. But for what they're building, it seems like it's a pretty reasonable outlay of money to get essentially a virtual power plant. And that's what this is becoming. And that's why I kind of want to get more information on it. I did see they had this was the, what do they call it? Power density, a lighting power density. So they called it a 0.4 watt per square foot lighting power density. And they had these metrics that they used to sort of see, you know, under 25, below 25 energy use intensity rating is an outstanding benchmark. And so they achieve these great benchmarks. And I'm sure that there's information that's been used, but I think the information that they distilled this from, at least right now, is just based on analytics and data. So they're just saying, if we pop this into a spreadsheet and our operational running usage is going to be X amount of power, then we can expect our efficiency rating to be Y based on that. And it'll be interesting to see when it comes into effect. So for instance, I don't know how many solar panels are going on this roof. Just looking at it, my eyeball test says a lot. That looks like a lot of panels. But they talked about making 1.5 million kilowatts per year, kilowatt hours per year of power. That's a lot of power. I don't even know what we make. We're in the thousands for sure, just in our single family home. So it adds up. But that's a lot of 1.4 million kilo. So if you divide that out, I think you get it to be the equivalent of about roughly the power of about 150 homes. So the yearly power that it would take for 150 homes is what's powering this high school. And so clearly it has the ability to produce a lot of solar power. I mean, it's going to be about 2,500 panels, 2,000 panels, I'd say at least. At 400 watts or 500 watts a panel, I think we're looking at somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 panels. So there isn't any reason why this school can't double as a virtual power plant within the community. And that would give the school even more options and opportunities to interface in a positive and productive way with the surrounding community. And so, for instance, if it's producing that much power and it's a really efficient building, in the wintertime, I'm sure it's got the geothermal and it's got, you know, really efficient ways of heating and really, you know, high standards of efficiency in all of its systems and lighting, LED lighting, and I'm sure across the board. But I suspect two things. I suspect it's still going to use more power in the winter than it does in the summer. I don't know. I mean, the air conditioning on the building could be a huge draw too, but I just don't think they're going to be air conditioning the entire building in the summer because the students aren't there. So there'll probably be components of it are. I think that they mentioned the gymnasium had a walking track and had maybe facilities that were open to the public, which is really great. I think if you're building and investing in this type of a infrastructure in the community, then it's incumbent upon you to integrate in a way I feel like that gives back in so many facets. And so having a walking track where in the wintertime, if it's really crappy weather out and you want to walk your kid on the track, you know, you got a baby in a stroller, and it's nice to have a place. If you're an older couple and accessibility and mobility is an issue, it's nice to be able to go to a place when it's raining out and walk along a track. I think that makes a lot of sense. And to keep that open year round makes a lot of sense. But I think the power draw is going to be different seasonally. And so if you're making an abundance of power in the summer, so I said, I know two things. Well, I think I know three things. Is that, let's see if I can remember them all, is that they're not going to be making as much power in the winter. That's just the nature of the weather in New England. You have a higher arc and a longer day and a higher intensity of sun in the summer, and you have the opposite of that in the winter. So they won't be making as much power in the winter. I think they'll be using more power. I really do. I think heating the building, having all the students there, having all of the facilities operating, having the robotics lab and the wood workshop and the classrooms and the science rooms and the gymnasiums all fully functional, all the sporting teams, everything happening, all the shows at night. You know, your parents are coming for music and theater and that sort of thing. In the wintertime, I think they're going to use more power. I think they're going to make less power. And I think they're going to lose efficiency on the panels. It's just the nature of it. So you're at a disadvantage in the winter, but it means you're at an advantage in the summer. The only thing with the summer here is school's out. So what are you going to do with all that power? And it's one thing they don't talk about. And so they don't talk about how many panels they're using. They don't talk really about any of the overarching sustainable components of the project, other than to say it's overall ratings, which I don't even really understand. And I live off the grid, and I don't know what an energy use intensity below 25 is. I could look it up. I could do some homework, and I think I will, because I think I'm going to track this project a little bit because it's super interesting. But I think in the summertime, they need to talk about being a virtual power plant. And I think that's what it distills down to. And I think that there's advantages and disadvantages to all that, especially if you're an individual home like we are and you're off grid. There's times in the summer I wish we could push power back into the grid. We have an abundance of it. I see what we're bringing in. And then sometimes I see our solar system just shuts off because we can't hold anymore. We can't use anymore. And it would be nice to share some of that. So with a school like this that's making 1.5 million kilowatt hours of power, it would be nice to port that back to the community, some kind of a virtual power plant. And so how would you do that? The easy one is just having a bidirectional grid connection where the utility can manage that. And I don't know if the utility in this case can handle that influx of power coming in from the school. And it would just be interesting to know or see how that works, or if they have any plans to integrate that in the future. The other, I feel like fairly easier thing and more common sense thing to do, and this is piggybacking off of what we talked about a couple days ago or last week, is electric buses. Now, again, with our house, we have like a little EcoFlow battery at 4 kilowatts. We have our main house power walls, that's 40, and we've got our Ionic 5, that's 80. So that's scaling up. But then there's the buses. Buses are 220 kilowatts, 200 plus. So you add 5 buses into your school matrix, your sustainable power matrix for your sort of solar gridded school system. You add 5 buses and you're adding 1,000 kilowatts of storage. That's mobile. That's practical, that's portable, and that serves the population in a clean way as well. So you're adding electric buses that have all of the benefits of not having the CO2 and emissions and noise and things like that. It is really nice. I mean, look, I use my electric chainsaw, and I'm happy as a clam that I don't got to inhale the fumes. I don't got to deal with a lot of the nonsense with the gas, with filling it up with gas and things like that. So, oil. It does make life a lot easier, and I have both, and I use both. And to be honest, there's a time for the gas chainsaw. There are larger diameter trees that need to be cut down in the winter and the storms. And that's why it's nice to have redundancy in your systems. And so having the ability to, let's say, have 5 electric buses, when you're producing 1.5 million kilowatt hours of power, to be able to store 1,000 kilowatts a day. And so let's say in the summertime, these basically are just sitting. I mean, I'm sure that they're doing bus runs for something. I'm sure that the school system is using them, just probably sparingly in the summer, and they're just sitting. So those would be the battery packs for the school. Those would be battery packs for the community. And 1,000 kilowatts is a lot of power. As you can see in our day, that's why I do the power check. We use 20, 25, and that's the average American household. Somewhere between, depending on the season, somewhere between 10 and 30 kilowatts, just to give the widest range possible. But let's settle on 20 or 25. So to have 1,000 kilowatts of storage when you can efficiently run on 20 or 25 kilowatts for a day for a household, it gives your community a big leg up when it needs it most. And it also gives you the ability to bring that power anywhere it needs to help support or sustain surrounding communities, adjacent neighborhoods and things like that, or bring power to places that might not traditionally have it, or to festivals or school functions, that might need it in a environment that is not so suitable to running a long extension cord or a bunch of generators, which, as you know, do get noisy and just kind of create all sorts of other logistical problems. So, I like the wheels on the bus. I think they power the school. I think they can power the community. I think a school like this is smart. I want to follow it. A lot of positive things happening here in Watertown. And I think the spaces look great. They look great. I like the idea of letting the light in. I like the circulation, but ultimately having 2,000 or 3,000 solar panels, I'm going to try to find a number on that. But that's a lot of panels. That's a lot of power. And it's a lot of great, efficient use of flat roof space that would just otherwise be sitting there. And that's, I guess, my other question. See, all these questions when we start to talk about this stuff. So it's flat roof space. So when it snows, and it does snow, and it will snow. We've had our first snow here last week, a few days ago. When it snows, on our roof, we've got almost a 45-degree slope. And so the combination of the heat on the metal and the solar panels having a slight heat to them and the glazing picking up on that, and me clearing through that first row of the solar panels allows the second and third rows to slide off. They're not going to have that luxury on a flat roof and a roof of this size. So unless they got kind of some autonomous vehicle, some little bot that's going to go around and plow these things out, they are not going to be powered by the sun at certain times in the winter. And that's something to think about. These are all things, in a vacuum, you're like, oh, great, look at how much power we could produce. But that's under ideal circumstances, under ideal conditions on the perfect day, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just not how life works. It's just not how it goes. So be interesting to see how it functions. But I think it's going to function pretty well. I think they should add some electric school buses to this thing. Look, they're already spending $200 million. I don't even know how much electric school buses cost, but why not? Why not add a couple of those into the mix, and then you're providing battery storage, portable storage, and redundancy, and that's key. I mean, in education, I feel like the more you know and the more times you hear it, I think the better you understand it and can relate it to how you live. So that's my food for thought. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about from that, but I'm going to keep my eye out on the Watertown High School, and it's kind of cutting edge. I will call it cutting edge design, and good luck to them with that. Now, they made me look. We try to keep it light here on the off-grid farm. We try to keep it light because we need light to stay powered. And I think sometimes the news and everything just gets a little inundating. And so having a little bit of light in our day definitely helps us recharge the batteries. So without further ado here, I'm going to add Ari at Home. I love listening to Ari at Home because he's basically like the canvas that gives people the opportunity to paint really cool pictures, be really creative, bring out the best and the joy. And I think all of the positive things that are the reasons we're going to keep sustaining this incredible, positive and joyful world that we have is because of things like this. This guy just walks around New York City and people find him and he finds people. And this is what happens. This is an improvisational. Oh, let me rewind it. Keep the power on this. But does it not have sound? Can you guys hear that, or can I not hear that? One of us can't hear that. Let me see here. Let's see. I feel like this doesn't have sound. I feel like something. The last time I muted myself. This time I don't have the Ari at Home sound. I'm gonna try to bring this back on. Let's try to bring this back in, and if I can't get it, that's okay too. It's been that kind of day. It's like 3 a.m. right now. Let's see. Ari, where are you, brother?
What up?
There we go.
Yeah. Can you walk and play?
Absolutely.
What do you play violin to?
Anything you want.
Okay, well, hang on. The one problem we're going to have...
She improv violins, anything you want, while walking, while syncing up to a beat with Ari at Home. This is just, this is going to be good.
I had thought about your videos earlier, and I was like, I hope I run into this guy, and I have my violin, and I'm like...
Dude, this is that...
Yeah, I wonder if Ari at Home is just walking around New York City. Look at that.
Okay, good. Let me build it up a little bit first.
Playing improv violin can't be easy. If this doesn't put you in a good mood for your day, if this doesn't make you tap your feet, something wrong with your feet. I could stop this a million times and talk, but it. Everybody's into it. And they're walking and even walking around and doing this. It's so sick. It really is. So that's the stuff that makes me happy. This is why I think we're going to be okay. It's the made me look. It gives me some light in my day. Starts me off on definitely a positive note, an upbeat note, some great harmony, and some surprises. You know, who gets to see a violinist improving with a improvisational beat maker and his, what do you call that? That's like a Ghostbuster rig. His Ghostbuster beat producing rig. So thanks to Ari at home. Thanks to random violinist. Hey, Millie. I think that's what it was. And thanks to you all for tuning in, for doing good in the world, whatever you're doing, just for maintaining and hanging in there and keeping yourselves going. So that's it. That's life on the off-grid farm right now. That's the second take of this. Hopefully the microphone worked this time. Oh, man, I recorded the whole thing last time and the microphone didn't work. This stream wasn't as good as the last one, but you'll forgive me for that. I'll be back to give it the old college try another day. But hope you all have enough power for your day, inside and out. And I will definitely be back soon with more Off-Grid Farm.